Staff writer for Slate, Heather Schwedel, wrote an article on Vice President JD Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance's relationship after the couple announced they are expecting a fourth child earlier last week. The article was titled, "Well, that's one way for JD and Usha Vance to respond to the Erica Kirk divorce rumors." Written by Schwedel, starts by talking about the social media chatter surrounding JD Vance leaving Usha Vance for Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, which is just a disgusting rumor with no truth to it. While attending a Turning Point USA event at the University of Mississippi in October, JD Vance shared a hug, how dare he, with Erica Kirk, which went viral. Schwedel notes that the two were more darkly entertaining than plausible.
Schwedel adds, in lieu of trading in his wife for a paler model, Vance was
terrible. Go ahead.
Vance found another way to prove himself a good shepherd of the MAGA faithful. It does make a kind of sick sense that if Vance can't have a white wife standing next to him as he clearly looks towards the 2028 presidential election, the next best thing is a pregnant one. Schwedel mentions Usha's background as being a, quote, highly educated daughter of Indian immigrants. Schwedel suggests that background, Usha not only doesn't burnish Vance's MAGA credentials, she undermines them.
Schwedel also writes that it's so MAGA to have 4 kids. The average number of children per American household has been declining for decades, so having 4 kids in the year 2026 is a bit of a statement.
Schwedel then ended the piece, writing, quote, Usha is free to slap. Did I read that correctly? Usha is free to slap. I had this before JD went crazy. Stickers on her other kids.
Free to slap. I had JD before she went
crazy.
Got
it. I was reading. Okay, Usha is free to slap. I had this before JD went crazy. Stickers on her other kids. But if she could ever claim any kind of ignorance, that time is over. Got it. She has now seen exactly who her husband has become as vice president, and knowing everything she knows, she concluded that yes, she wanted to have another one of JD Vance's babies.
Heather Schwedel got blasted online, deservedly, for some on the right about her views on Vance's relationship and having a 4th kid. Rachel Bovard, VP of Programs at the Conservative Partnership Institute, wrote on X, "This is, and I mean this with utter sincerity, the most gutter, vile, misogynist trash from Slate. This level of bitter nastiness could only come from a woman author, which it obviously did." Political commentator John Podhoretz shared Rachel Bovard's comments on X and wrote, "Holy jamoli, how foul." Yeah, this was just absolutely disgusting.
I mean, this is something that I would expect to see like a TikTok influencer that was, trying to do like, oh my gosh, he's not with Erica Kirk like you saw online, because those claims were all over the place. Yes.
Nonsense.
So there was a rambling online about the back of the head hug, which had its own life and lived legs on besides a news conversation. The fact that this woman writes for Slate and is trying to write a news opinion piece, this is kind of out of line because
it's all projecting. She's projecting that he wishes he had a white wife, because he wants to run for president, because everyone in MAGA is racist, and so he's having a 4th kid because having more kids is right-wing coded and that's bad, and that's her perspective, which is wrong and bad and flawed and frankly evil in every way. JD Vance, I have no doubt that he loves his wife. I have no doubt that she loves and supports and agrees with him. The liberals get their idea that, these women who are married to these Republican men we don't like, they must just hate everything they're doing and inside be so, torn up about it. No, they agree with and support their husbands. Melania agrees with and supports Donald Trump. She wanted him to run for president. She told him, do it or stop threatening to do it. You got to do one or the other. She supported the idea that she's being held hostage and wants out is an utter fiction created in the minds of liberals, probably liberal women.
When she spends half of the presidency in New York instead of with her husband, people were going to naturally ask questions. I know at the time she was saying she wanted to keep her son in the same school, but historically, wives have moved in with their husbands to the White House and inconveniently moved their kids' schools as well. I'm just saying, so people have questions. I mean, you're in the public eye. You can't.
He likes going back and forth between the 2 places too. He goes back and forth between 3 different places.
I'm happy for Usha, and Usha, you guys can correct me how to say her name. I'm happy for her. She's having a baby. She's 40 years old. She's a lawyer, smart woman.
Right.
I am very happy for her. I think that that's fantastic if you want to expand your family. I have no criticisms of that. I think when you continuously hear JD Vance, and this is not in defense of the article was trash, but when you have JD Vance who's often criticizing immigrants and elites. I mean, she went to elite school. Her family are literally immigrants. When he's like talking about diversity initiatives. She's a product of diversity initiatives. The fact that her family is able to be successful in this country and they're immigrants, and she embodies these stories.
Her by saying she's a product of diversity initiatives.
I'm just saying, like, you have the opportunity to be looked at as a migrant because we're not just hiring and bringing on our friends, right? This is something that we consider in this country.
You and I just have such a
we have different perspectives on this. I think that you should acknowledge that, right? The fact that people are open to hiring more women, hiring people of different races and colors. They weren't open to that decades ago. Historically, the numbers weren't right. People were actively only hiring men. There was times in this country when women didn't even work. So obviously we've come a long way. So your family as immigrants who came into a growing America have benefited off the policies that we've changed over the last decades to have a more equal society.
I support high-skilled immigration and non-discrimination. So
exactly. So if people are
Vance.
Looking at her and saying, oh, well, sometimes your husband says stuff that might directly criticize your family that immigrated here, or diversity initiatives or anything like that, they're allowed to have a criticism or a feeling about it.
Non-discrimination is just, we're going to hire or employ or allow to immigrate or accept to this school the most qualified person regardless of race. That's non-discrimination. Diversity is saying we're going to specifically look for people of a certain identity group because we feel like we don't have enough representatives of that class. That we on the right are all against. The former, we're all for.
Okay,
So
well, I disagree. You already know that. I don't want to debate DEI right now, but I do want to talk about the fact that she went to was considered an elite college. He criticizes these places all the time. Exactly. So he's running on a stance sometimes that are critical of her experience and his experience. Just like he criticized President Trump for years prior to being his vice president. I mean, this is not consistent. So I do think that he does love his wife because I think maybe he falls more in line with the things that he said historically as opposed to the things that he said the last few years because he wants to be Trump's friend.
I think you could say that elites have had a negative impact to some degree on our public policies as of late, that elite universities have gone awry and there's too much groupthink and too many bad policies, while still saying that, but they are important, they transmit foundational knowledge about science and the law, and you need to be educated, and we can still criticize the education system while taking part of it. So I don't know that it's.
But why is it impossible?
Hypocrisy.
I mean, okay, so we both are in committed relationships. There are times when we're going to disagree with our partners. No, that's okay. That doesn't mean I don't respect or love you. Well, for Colin and I, we disagree about a lot of political stuff, and that's okay. But we don't disagree to the point that it's going to deteriorate the relationship. It's like, no, I don't agree with that stance. So
well, they're also allowed to disagree.
They're allowed to disagree too.
But
that piece
I don't know that they really disagree.
That piece doesn't tie into, to me, their political disagreements that may or may not happen behind the scenes.
Sure.
I think that piece was just obnoxious.
That she disagrees with him, and that she's just swallowed her pride or something is just. I think that is a liberal talking and saying, if I was in this situation, I would hate him. I would regret having married him, and so I'm projecting that onto her when there is no evidence whatsoever. It's the same thing they do with Melania. They project onto her that she must hate him and want nothing to do with him. There's no evidence of that.
Well, I think people just are trying
That's how you feel.
People are trying to build a story because they saw that back ahead hug, and that was very.
God.
I mean, Robbie, I'm just saying,
like made up.
It just was a very intense hug. That's it. I'm just saying, as a woman, that doesn't mean it means anything. It was an intense hug. I don't hug in that way.
Hug bothered you.
No man should. If Colin has a problem if a man's hands are right where JD Vance are on my waist, I'm sorry. If you hug me and go low, then Colin's gonna be like, "What's up with Robbie?" Like, that's not gonna be acceptable. So I'm just saying.
Keep that in mind, I guess.
You're gonna go like this on my waist as opposed to a regular hug. What are you saying? Your hands shouldn't go down on this area. Like, this is like normal questions that people online should have. People who write for news outlets should not ask these questions because they're not rooted in any legitimacy. But people online who go run or muck every day are going to naturally ask these questions.
Okay, we got the back. All right, we got to move on. Up next, Washington Post reporters are publicly asking Jeff Bezos not to lay them off. We'll see how that goes right after this.